Jon Anik defends. Strategic. Placement of middleweight bout on UFC 300 card instead of UFC newcomers debut. UFC commentator Jon Anik has offered an explanation as to why the UFC has included Bo Nickal on the UFC 300 main card, ahead of multiple former champions. The milestone event is one of the most stacked in the promotion's history, including 9 former champions with 3 title fights atop the card. In the midst of the blockbuster main card is a rising star, Bo Nickal. Despite only being 5 fights and 2 years into his professional MMA career, he has been favored on the main card ahead of some promotional fan favorites. The first fight of the entire card is Deiveson Figueiredo vs Cody Garbrandt, 2 former champions with a notoriously exciting style. Jiri Prochazka is another former champion who will fight before the impressive Nickal, with the former light heavyweight champion being the featured prelim fight of the night. Possibly the most surprising of all is that Nickal appears higher on the card than women's MMA star, Kayla Harrison. The multiple-time Olympic gold medalist makes her highly anticipated UFC debut and will do so on the prelims. Nickal's last fight came against Val Woodburn at UFC 290, which was the UFC's International Fight Week event where he also competed on the main card. Talking to MMA Junkie, Jon Anik offered his opinion on why the 28-year-old middleweight will appear on the main card ahead of the likes of Harrison, labeling it as strategic from the promotion. You parlay their fight style with the expectation and the pressure and the fan intrigue, and I just think Bo Nickal checks a lot of boxes. When we get through our PPV Open and we have that exhale moment when we get to sit down and watch that first fight on PPV with all of the masses from around the world, that's a very strategic position on the card, it's a prime slot. Anik added, although the inclusion of the undefeated 28-year-old on the main card makes sense from a business perspective, to have him fight Cody Brundage, who was 10-5 and was close to being cut from the promotion, has raised question marks. With Kayla Harrison's UFC debut being one of the most anticipated in recent memory, Anik played devil's advocate, questioning if she'd drive the PPV on ESPN more than Bo Nickal would. To what extent does Kayla Harrison help drive the PPV competing on ESPN? How many people see Kayla Harrison perform on ESPN versus how many buy the PPV at UFC 300? What are their expectations for Kayla Harrison versus Holly Holm in terms of that fight's individual ability to entertain? Anik question. With a win over former UFC women's bantamweight champion, Holly Holm, Kayla Harrison will likely earn herself a title shot against Raquel Pennington in what could be just her second fight with the promotion.